Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, today I want to talk about the Breonna Taylor case. I haven't done a video solely dedicated to this case, and I wanted to take out time right now to focus on this case and also to talk about some controversy surrounding the case. Here we have a situation where a young woman was killed under horrible circumstances. I mean, imagine you're at home, you're in your bed, you're chilling. It's late at night, like 12:30 at night, and somebody comes and bangs on your door. These people don't identify themselves. You have no idea who these people are banging on your door. You ask who is it, and they don't respond according to some of the people involved. They bang on your door, they don't respond when you ask who is it, and then at one point they bang open your door. They use a battle ram to knock open your door, and they run up in your house. What would you do in that situation? So in this particular situation, Breonna Taylor was there with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend had a firearm. He had it legally registered. He had every right to own a firearm. When these people broke into his house, this brother proceeded to shoot at the intruders. And he said that he deliberately had his gun down low so he would hit them like in their leg or something like that. So he hit one of these people. And it turns out that these people that were entering his house were actually police officers. And these individuals did not have on uniforms. They were in plain clothes. There were no police cars that were identifiable. These were plain clothes police officers running up in somebody's house. And they claim that that they announced themselves. But according to the boyfriend, and according to one of the neighbors, they did not hear these police announce that they were police. So you had these random people running up in your house in the middle of the night. It's understandable why this young man exercised his right to defend himself and to defend, his girlfriend. So the police officers, when they got in there, they shot and killed Breonna Taylor, shot her multiple times. And this sister just bled to death. Not only did they shoot her, they waited around. They didn't have any kind of medical service come to her right away. They say for like 25 minutes, this sister was bleeding to death, and no kind of medical treatment was applied. And the police claim that she had been shot so many times it was unlikely that she would be saved or anything like that. But it shows a disregard of life, a complete disregard of human life. And also, there were at least 3 officers involved in this situation. From what I understand, there were even more than that involved. According to the reports, one of these officers, proceeded to shoot like 10 times, even though, there was a patio, the patio door was closed, there was the blinds to the patio or the curtain to the patio was closed. So you had this man, this white police officer, blindly shooting into the house, shooting all these shots without knowing who's behind the patio door or anything, just randomly shooting. They say that some of the shots actually hit inside of a neighbor's house in this situation. That police officer who was blindly shooting and just shooting without seeing any kind of target, he was immediately fired. But no charges have been pressed against this particular officer. And so you had this sister dead, and immediately after this incident happened, the police went ahead and arrested the boyfriend. And if I recall correctly, the boyfriend's name is Kenneth Walker. They arrested him immediately, charged him with attempted murder. Absolutely ridiculous. Here you have a man defending his home, and he gets charged for attempted murder. They eventually dropped the charges because they know those charges were ridiculous. Here you have somebody defending themselves and they get charged, but yet and still the very police that killed this sister, they don't face any charges today. Not a single charge. Not even the one officer that was very reckless firing into that house without, even though the patio door was closed and there was a curtain over the patio, just blindly shooting into a house. Anybody could have been in that house. A little child could have been in that house. And that's one of the things that was noted in this CNN article that I'm going to show you right now. They noticed that there were some miscalculations in this situation. First of all, let me just go to the article and then we'll get into it. One second. Okay. So here's the article, and it talks about miscalculations in this situation that led to this horrific incident. One thing that they talked about was how, they said that this woman, Breonna Taylor, was in a relationship with a drug dealer. And that drug dealer's name, let's see, the drug dealer's name is Jamarcus Glover. And they claim that she was in a relationship with him and that she was moving packs for him, like receiving packages of drugs for him and, giving them back to him and all that kind of stuff, participating in a criminal drug enterprise. That's what they accuse her of. But the fact of the matter is this woman broke up with this guy a long time ago. She was in another relationship. And despite them trying to paint her as some kind of drug dealer and all that kind of stuff, or being a part of some kind of criminal enterprise, this sister has no criminal record. The young brother that was in the house with her, and I believe his name is Walker, Mr. Walker, he doesn't have a criminal record, but yet they were trying to say that this woman was involved in this criminal enterprise. So that's one of the big mistakes. They had, she wasn't in a relationship with that guy. That was a past relationship. But yet, in getting this warrant, they claimed that she was in a relationship with him. And then also, one of the things that they brought up was that they thought that she was home alone. So that even though they got a no-knock warrant, which means that they can just barge into somebody's house without identifying themselves and all that kind of stuff. Even though they had that kind of warrant, they decided, they claimed that they decided to just knock on the door because according to their information, she was the only one in the house. But apparently they weren't even aware that she had this boyfriend that was in the house as well. And it's just a horrible situation. When they raided this house and killed this woman, murdered this sister, they didn't find any drugs. There was no proof or any evidence of some kind of drug conspiracy. And here we had this young sister dead, taken at the prime of her life. She was only 26 years old. Only 26 years old, and now she's dead. Now she's another hashtag, another person in a long list of Black people, Black women in particular, killed by police. And one thing that's very important that needs to be pointed out is this, none of these people, none of these officers had body cameras on them when this incident happened. So now we're in a situation where it's, he said versus she said type of situation. So now you're going to have these police officers saying one thing, and then you had a brother saying another thing, and neighbors saying, something as well. So it makes it harder to prosecute this kind of case. And it's like, why didn't they have body cameras on? That's a question that needs to be answered. And there's a civil case now being brought against the police and the city for what happened in this case. And I'm, more likely than not, I think that those attorneys are going to have a good chance of prevailing because there was all kinds of negligence and recklessness in this situation. Um, so let me continue going through this article. So it talks about the miscalculations that the police made, assuming that Breonna Taylor was home alone when she was, in fact, with her boyfriend. Also, they talked about the miscalculation of deciding to engage in this type of raid, a high risk type of raid, under questionable circumstances. And you can see here the shots. This is the blood from where she was killed. This is outrageous. Just bear with me. So they had all these warrants for different locations around town connected to this alleged drug dealer Glover, and her house was one of them. So and they reached out to the judge who issued the warrants. The judge said that, hold on, the judge said that, I think it's a female judge. Hold on one second. I don't want to make a mistake with this. Just bear with me a second. Yeah, so it's a woman judge. Her name is Mary Shaw. They went to her to get the warrants. And, the CNN reached out to her to find out about these warrants and how this could happen and all that kind of stuff. And, she declined to discuss the details, but she said it took more than 30 minutes to review the warrant applications, and she made a probable cause determination required by law. And she went on to say that Taylor's death will stay with her forever. I mean, this young woman would be alive today if these cops didn't put in these warrants, these unwarranted warrants, unwarranted warrant as with respect to Breonna Taylor's home. It's just crazy. And the attorneys for the Taylor family, they attacked the affidavit as weak and misleading. And it just goes into detail about her not having packages for this guy, Glover. They said that there was one incident where it may have been like clothes that she received in the mail and she gave those to him or whatever. But it's just crazy that you would have this situation happen. And then to confirm that the young man had no idea that these were police officers, all you have to do is listen to a call that he made. Like, I think it's either a call or interview that he did where he's talking about the situation, and you have some neighbors calling as well about the situation. They're actually calling the police. So if it was the police, they wouldn't be calling the police if they knew that it was the police. So clearly these officers probably didn't identify themselves. If they identified themselves, this whole situation could have been avoided. If they said police and they made it clear that they were there to conduct a search, this whole thing would have been avoided. But here you had these people barging into somebody's house in the middle of the night. This is reckless conduct. At the very least, these officers need to be charged with manslaughter. And I commend those young people that had a courage to protest against this, to all those protesters. You had people like Tamika Mallory. I'm going to talk about her in a second, protesting. I commend people like that. Commend people like Mason, for demonstrating and using his voice to speak out on this issue. And then you have organizations, all kinds of civil rights organizations, the traditional organizations, Black Lives Matter. And you also have the NFAC down there as well. They were down there protesting and meeting with officials. So I got to commend all those people that are using their voice to speak out. So again, yeah, the boyfriend's name was is Kenneth Walker. He's the one that was with Breonna Taylor at the time when she was shot and killed. Um, yeah, so let me just look to see. Yeah, so they, in this particular article, they go through what happened. The police officer talks about seeing Kenneth Walker with the gun and then feeling, getting shot in the leg. And then after that, feeling the heat and the pain from the round that hit him in the leg. And then they talk about the other shots. And then there were two other officers that discharged their weapon. Hankerson is the one that I told you about that was firing blindly and, you know, who got discharged, lost his job as a result of that. And none of these officers have been charged with a crime, not a single one of them. And here you had this sister dead at 26. Um, yeah, so Walker did call the police. So he's calling the police, not realizing that these are the police. So again, no drugs found in the apartment. Yeah, so that's just a brief breakdown of the Breonna Taylor situation. You have this Negro prosecutor down there. Let me stop sharing my screen. You had this black prosecutor down there who is a Trump supporter. Somebody who was like a student or a protege of Mitch McConnell, Senator Mitch McConnell. So, just based off of those basic facts, that this is not the kind of Negro that's going to do anything for Black people. And then, he's married to a white woman, of course. I mean, of course, that goes with the Coon starter pack or starter kit, man. So that's the situation, man. You got this prosecutor who's a coon, who's not going to, probably won't press any charges unless people put intense pressure on him. And I got to commend all those protesters that protested and pulled up in front of his house to protest. I got to show nothing but love and respect for those brothers and sisters and those allies that had the courage to do that. Many of those people there were arrested. I think they arrested like 80 something people for protesting in front of that man's house. It's like they are quick to arrest the protesters, quick to arrest the people that are demanding justice, the people that are fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. They're quick to arrest them. This is just like that Eric Garner situation. They arrested the person that filmed that situation, harassed him and all that kind of stuff. And then also, they arrested the brother who was defending the sister Breonna Taylor and defending themselves from these no good pigs that invaded his house. But yet and still, here we are months after this killing of Breonna Taylor, and no charges have been pressed. I don't even know if a thorough investigation is going on right now. But this situation is crazy, and it's a good thing that we have strong people out here standing up, speaking out. And I'm going to use this platform as much as possible to bring attention to this issue. And I have to commend, even Oprah Winfrey for using her magazine and using her voice to bring attention to this particular case. She put Breonna Taylor on the cover of her magazine, O. And usually, as many people know, Oprah Winfrey usually just keeps her own image on her own magazine. But for this particular issue, she had Breonna Taylor's face on it to bring attention to this whole situation. And you have professional athletes as well, celebrities bringing attention to this issue. Hopefully, there'll be something out of this situation. Something has to happen, and it's a bad thing that we have a Justice Department uh, like the one we have right now under Trump. That's not going to really seriously investigate this matter. From what I understand, the FBI is conducting an investigation, but with this Trump administration, I don't hold out much hope for a positive result. Unfortunately, that's the situation. This is an administration that was they tried to back out of consent decrees that were entered under the Obama administration with several police departments. This is an administration who basically said through its spokespeople that police brutality is some local issue, it's not a federal issue. So I don't hold out much hope for the Justice Department doing what's right in this particular situation. What we need is a Justice Department to come in there and thoroughly investigate the police department, in that city, thoroughly investigate them for discriminatory practices and procedures. Now, one positive development has happened in this situation, at least on the local level. You have the city council, they passed a law banning no knock warrants, which is a great development because that if that kind of law was in place at the time when those police went to Breonna Taylor's home, she may still be alive today. Because it's a highly dangerous situation. It's a situation where police just barge in people's houses, unannounced, without saying that they're the police. And in many situations just like this one, they don't even have on police attire. They're in plain clothes. So that's a volatile type of situation where anything can happen. People can be killed because if you don't know who's entering your home and you have a firearm, your natural instinct is to shoot and kill whoever's trying to enter your home. So that places police lives in jeopardy, and it places the lives of the residents in the home at jeopardy. So it's long overdue. And it's just unfortunate. I was listening to a CNN report, and they were talking about how only 2 states in the whole country have laws banning no knock warrants. So only 2 states in the whole country, and that's ridiculous. And I was listening to this report, and I think it was on, it was on Vice, and hopefully I'll be able to just post the links to various news videos that I saw, and I'll get to your comments in a second. Hopefully I'll be able to post those links to the various news sources that I saw this morning. But they say, for instance, that Black people only make up 23% of the Louisville of the population in Louisville, but they account for like 80% of those people that had these no-knock warrants implemented, or that are subject to these types of searches. So this is something that's long overdue. We need to get rid of these laws that allow police officers to just barge in people's homes without identifying themselves. That should be a top priority, and that's something that each and every one of us can do today. Lobby our city councils, lobby our state legislatures. And they need to actually make that a federal law so no jurisdiction can have their police barge in someone's home without being identified. This issue is something that has to be addressed. And we need to speak out more about these particular cases of police brutality involving our sisters. One of the roles of a man is to protect the community. And one of the ways that we can protect the community is by standing up for our women and our girls. When you see these demonstrations, and this is something that I'm going to address in a video right after this one, but when you watch these protests that are taking place, The protests around George Floyd, around Rashard Brooks, and other protests, Ahmaud Arbery. Many of the people participating in these demonstrations all around the country are Black women. Black women are at the forefront of a lot of these demonstrations. In fact, a lot of times there are more Black women participating in these demonstrations than there are Black men participating in these demonstrations. Um, our sisters have proven their loyalty and their dedication to Black men by putting in that work, defending Black men and standing up for Black men, in these police brutalities cases, like Trayvon, even Trayvon Martin and other, vigilante type cases. So we need to be there for our sisters. We need to stand up for our sisters. Our sisters like Breonna Taylor, like all these other countless women that are victims of police brutality. So I'm going to use this platform to bring as much attention to this issue. And the only thing that I regret is not discussing this earlier. And it's just I should have done this video a long time ago. It's just unfortunate that the plight of our sisters too often gets pushed to the margins. Even though you do have a lot of brothers that are out there demonstrating for our sisters, we need even more to stand up for our sisters. So yeah, I'm going to go on to another aspect of this particular story. I saw some articles about Tamika Mallory getting into an exchange with this white hip hop producer about this Breonna Taylor. And I just want to highlight a couple of points from that discussion. So before I do that, I'm going to see what people are saying in the chat. See what people have to say. Just bear with me a second. Okay. Yeah, it's just, I think he is the state's, the state attorney general. I think you're right about that. But yeah, the guy that has the decision-making power, that has the power to press charges is not doing his job. Despite all these demonstrations, he's not making this a priority at all. Yeah, so someone said, I'll never understand how a no-knock warrant makes sense. Yeah, I understand. I feel you. I don't understand how it makes sense either. But, the police claim that they need no-knock warrants because they say that you have a lot of situations where these drug dealers will have cameras and all that kind of stuff outside of the home, the trap house or whatever. And as soon as they see the police, they destroy the evidence. They get rid of the drugs and all that kind of stuff. And also they prepare for the invasion, like they get their guns ready and all that kind of stuff. And they claim that it makes it a more dangerous situation. It makes it easier for them to commit crimes and stuff. That's the rationale that they have raised to justify these no-knock warrants. But I think that those warrants are inherently dangerous. Anytime you just run up in somebody's house, all that's asking for is for more police to get killed or hurt and more civilians to get shot and killed. So yeah, it makes no sense. Yeah, so Def Rocker said today's hockey game gave respect to Breonna Taylor. Yeah, I'm glad that a lot of people are bringing attention to Breonna Taylor. Like, there have been some murals painted and all that kind of stuff, bringing attention to the sister. Here in Maryland, there's a huge memorial that was painted with her image in it. And these, art is very important because art speaks to values, and also art is used to bring attention to a lot of social issues. Yeah. So yeah, and also yeah, that's a good point. Cohen Davis. Yeah, you know, the NFAC again. They were down there demonstrating, showing and big numbers and stuff like that for the sister Breonna Taylor, and we need more of that kind of stuff. So I commend all those brothers and sisters that just stood up. So let me go to this other article real quick about Tamika Mallory and this white music producer. So you had this white music producer by the name of J.W. Lucas post something on the Shade Room, and he wrote this. He said, "Why is the world asking for justice for Breonna Taylor? Of course, she shouldn't have lost her life, but you do realize that she was involved with multiple drug dealers who were using her house as a trap spot. If you sign up for that life, there are consequences." Again, as I pointed out, like there's no evidence, and this is something that Tamika Mallory points out, like there's no evidence that she was involved with multiple drug dealers and that she was using her house as a trap house. Again, they didn't find any drugs in that house. She wasn't no longer in a relationship with the guy, Mr. Glover, for quite some time. So this man is putting out this statement without any kind of actual facts and actual proof. He has no proof to substantiate this stuff, but yet he's putting it out here, suggesting that she got, I mean, she got what she ended up getting because of her lifestyle. And the fact of the matter is, there's no evidence of any of this stuff. And the thing that's so crazy about this situation is that this is a white person who's all up in black culture. This is a white person making all kinds of money off of black culture. He produces all these big time new rap artists, um, and he's getting literally paid off their culture. So I'm going to try to pull up the names of the people that he produces. Um, I think it's in this article. Yeah, so he produces the Baby, Jack Harlow, and Little Uzi Vert, and Little Dirk, and many of those artists I'm not even that familiar. I mean, I've heard of a few of them. I don't even listen to that new hip hop too much, but he produces these prominent artists, and here he is like disrespecting the life of his sister Breonna Taylor, disrespecting the movement, the demand to end police brutality by putting out this ridiculous comment. And then he had this exchange with the sister, Tamika Mallory, where she basically got on the live and was trying to, respond to what this guy put out there, and the whole time, in the little bit that I heard, this guy is talking over her, disrespecting her, not letting her get in the word edgewise. He's just running all over her, like talking all over her, disrespecting her. And then he went on to say that he would be a better leader of Black Lives Matter than Tamika Mallory. I mean, that epitomizes white privilege, white arrogance, and white racism. Here you got a guy, first of all, having the audacity to tell black people what we need to be involved in, to tell black people what kind of cases should we demand justice in. So that's one thing. Then having the nerve or the gall to suggest that he would make a better leader for black people than somebody like Tamika Mallory that's been on the front lines fighting for black people for many years now. So let's see. There's some other points that I wanted to raise about this. And this is the clip right here. I'm not going to play it, but if you go to this article, you'll see this clip and you'll hear him talking all over this sister, not giving her a chance to speak at all. And this guy claimed that he's been fighting for Black people every day of his life. But yet, as this article points out, he's going to diminish this Black woman's legacy and, suggested she got what was coming to her based on her lifestyle. Yeah, so he works with all these artists, and I agree with Tamika Mallory. This guy should be canceled, for showing this kind of disrespect towards two Black women. First of all, Breonna Taylor, and Tamika Mallory, and just the whole Black Lives Matter, and just displaying that kind of racist arrogance. He should be canceled. Can you imagine if Farrakhan was a music producer, and they people accuse him of anti-Semitism. Can you imagine Jewish people allowing him to produce their music? Can you imagine that? So, like, why do we let these wannabes all up in our business? Let them, make money off of our culture when they have no respect for us as a people. And that's what you have here. You got somebody that shows no respect for Black people with these ridiculous comments. But yet this person has no problem profiting off of Black culture. And that needs to come to an end. And, so I support this sister's call to basically cancel this guy and for people not to work with this guy. Because it's crazy, man. Here you had his sister, 26 years old, in the prime of her life, gunned down, and you got this guy making all these excuses for the situation. And then this guy issued an apology. He said that he had a conversation with Breonna Taylor's sister. He said she informed me of the actual nature of the case and cleared up some things for me. And I want to apologize to her and her family if my comment, if that's the big catch right there, if my comment regarding her case had any potential inaccuracies. Then he has #love. So this is an example of a fake ass apology, man. He's not even acknowledging that he did anything wrong or that his statement was inaccurate. And it's just like the things that he said out of his mouth reflect what a lot of these people think, man. They, first of all, this arrogance as if they can run things better than Black people. You even see this with some of these quote unquote allies that want to tell Black people what to do with their movements, dominate our movements, direct our movements, tell us what's right and what's wrong. I mean, just like Bill Clinton, like when he made those ridiculous statements about the brother Kwame Ture, formerly known as Stokely Carmichael. It's like these people put their nose all in our business, man. And we need to stop allowing that. We need to stop allowing these people to disrespect our sisters, man. So yeah, so that's my thought about that. I'm going to see if you all have any additional comments. I encourage y'all to check out this particular article. Yeah, so I'm going to see what folks are saying before I tune out. And then I'll be back probably a little bit later with this article that talks about this sister who decided she's no longer going to be pro-Black. So I plan to talk about that next. So you all can tune in for that. So let's see if someone is saying something that I should respond to. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. See, I don't even listen to their music. Like I don't listen to a lot of these young people's, these new young hip hop artists. Like I've heard of these people's names before, but I don't listen to that stuff. I mean, a lot of these people do that mumble rap and all that other stuff. But yeah, I mean, a lot of artists promote a lot of negativity, and that's by design. A lot of these young artists are putting out a lot of negative music. You know what I'm saying? Because you have an industry that thinks that that's more profitable. So they emphasize those types of artists. They put them on a pedestal and they give them more airplay and they give them more press and attention and all that kind of stuff. They prop them up. So yeah, I mean, it's just a shame, man, and it's just a shame that you have people like this parasite that are embedded in this hip hop culture that we allow to be embedded in our culture, just like people allowing a virus into their home or something like that. But anyway, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate it. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. Peace and blessings, everyone. I'll be back up in a few minutes with another video. And that video is going to deal with the question of whether or not Black women should be pro-Black. Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a great day.